Oh man. Hey guys, it's Chris. I'm trying to re-record this another time. I'm getting some feedback on my microphone. I'm sorry for any background noise or the sniffling. Not feeling very well. Not sure what's going on with my microphone. I haven't changed the settings or anything, but I'm gonna get it figured out. Bear with me in this video. I need to knock this out. Alright, so it's pretty soon. Honestly, I didn't think I'd be able to make another video this fast. And then I remembered that I still have some old recordings on my laptop that I could slowly but surely make a speed paint out of. Because I hadn't recorded anything on my iPad over the weekend. I was out of town. So obviously these old ones will still be done in Paint Tool SI and whatnot. But after I go through these, all the new speed paints will be done from the iPad. Now I still need to figure out the best way to edit those videos because iMovie isn't my favorite. So if y'all have any suggestions, I'd greatly appreciate it. My main thing that I'm looking for is something that is more customizable when it comes to not trimming, but changing the speed of your video because iMovie isn't my favorite. Now, just to let you know, this video was originally going to cover two topics: finding an art style and the dreaded discussion of art style theft. But I feel like the second one is a beast of its own, and I'll do that another time. I'm sorry, I know a lot of people, a lot of you have been asking me about that and you want to know what I think about it, but it's kind of taboo, so I don't want to do this in this topic or this video. I'd also like to make it perfectly clear from the get-go that anything I say or suggest in this video is only from my point of view and my experience, blah, blah, blah. I'm not a teacher. I'm not an expert on your specific artistic journey and how you should make your own path. All that I can do is tell you what I did personally and bullet point that for anyone who's interested in trying my methods and or steering clear of them, because like I said, it's not for everybody. Please take this with a grain of salt. There is no real right or wrong way to learning art or practicing art styles. If it works for you, great. If you try any of my suggestions and they fall flat, that's to be expected. Everybody learns differently. We all develop our own signature looks differently. So let's go ahead and get started. The first two are questions. And the first question is, what inspires you? This was something I had to ask myself when I was thinking about making this video. What inspires you as an artist? What do you really love to see in other works or in your own compositions? What's something that you'd really love to incorporate into your own style? Is there a brand or signature look that you favor over others? For example, when I first started drawing, I was about 10 years old, I was really inspired by manga and X-Men cartoons. I loved it. I loved the character expressions, the fluid, intricate details of many of the books I was reading when I was that age. When I got older and anime-inspired caricatures was all I was capable of drawing, I started to begin to admire the art styles of Western comic book artists and Disney movies. I didn't know it at the time, but that's probably the root of a lot of my style inspiration. You know, I wanted colorful characters with a wide range of expressions and glowing eyes and faces. I really wanted to be able to bring life and emotion into my characters. I loved animation, and even though that's what I went to school for, I never pursued it like I wanted to. So I applied my love for movement and subtleties and expressions that you see in animation into my art style. And to this day, it's very easy to see how Disney and old Western comics and old school manga and anime inspired a lot of my style. To be honest, I think there is a lot of taboo around being inspired by anime as an artist, and I spent a lot of time trying to pull away from that. I actually stopped drawing for several years over the past 16 years that I've been drawing on and off because people gave me a hard time about drawing anime, and I thought, well, if this is the best I could do, I shouldn't be doing it. But eventually I just said fuck it, and I embraced it, and I created something of my own. There's nothing wrong with being inspired by things that you love. Now, it's good to find what inspires you and start there. For example, do you like dynamic poses and gestures? I just mixed the two words in my head, postures. Do you prefer subtle movement and motion in your characters? Are you like me? Do you like hyper-saturated color palettes, or do you prefer working with, you know, more muted colors or limited palettes? Find your starting point and build off of that. Once you know what inspires you and what you want to see in your art more often, you'll have somewhere to begin. Now, point 2 and 4 have similar themes, and they'll probably be brought up in my art style theft video, but because I don't want to go into all that now, I'm only going to briefly touch them. Now, the second question is, who inspires you? Find artists and art styles that give you that creative boost you've been missing. Some of the biggest inspiration that I've gotten as an artist, and the biggest creative surges that I've had, I don't even know how to explain that, is by finding a really great artist that I've never seen before, scrolling through their work, taking a brief look at their techniques and thinking, I'd like to try that one thing that they're doing and see if it works in my art or not. My biggest artistic influences for the longest time have been Loish, and more recently, Emmy and Kiki. Now, I adore Kiki, and I will never stop praising them or their artwork, and their art is very, very line art based. I mean, their paintings are incredible as well, but their line art is really what I loved. And so then I also really loved Loish's use of colors and all that, and even though I've never really been much of a painter, I wanted to incorporate bright colors and contrasting palettes into my style. So I became an artist who heavily relied on line art and these bright colors and or contrasting palettes. I really love playing with colors. I have no idea. Don't ask me about color theory because I don't know. I'm playing around. I mean, I do. I know the basics. I went to school, but at this point, I don't know much about color theory, and I'm too afraid to ask. Now, it's good to find things you like in other art and try to play around with it on your own. I'm going to be completely honest right now, though. When I first got into digital art, I was younger and I was naive. A lot of artists don't like to admit to this kind of stuff, but I feel like it's okay to admit to it because a lot of them have done it and a lot of them still do it, but they try to play it off like they're not doing it. I did try to replicate Emmy's style for a while there because she was the only good, she was the first and best example of what encapsulated the art style that I was going for. I was doing that for a long time. A lot of people pointed it out. Luckily, I wasn't making a living off of it. It was just a hobby because I didn't know anything about digital art and I was just trying to do that. But after a little while of trying that, I realized I wasn't really learning anything or developing anything of my own, and I decided I needed to branch out. So do what you love to do and do what you are good at, but take small bits of inspiration from the things around you to try to incorporate it into your own work. And don't be ashamed of being honest and open about it. You're allowed to say that you took inspiration from other artists. We love getting credited for that kind of stuff. The alternative, I'm not going to go any further, or I'm going to open a can of worms in this video, and I didn't want to do that today. So, number 3. Like I mentioned before, when I was naively emulating another artist's style for a bit there, I got stuck in a rut. The thing you need to know about me is that if you can't already tell from my videos, I'm a very methodical artist. I have a set list of steps that I have to follow. I'm very meticulous. I have to do things a certain way in each and every piece. I have to follow every step exactly so, or the end result looks weird to me. I call it my quote-unquote recipe for art. For example, if I don't have the opacity set just right, if I'm not using the right color in my shading layer, if the lines on the characters aren't just so, if I'm not doing hair the specific way, if I forget to highlight on the nose or the lips or in the corner of the eye, it just doesn't look right to me because I have to do these certain things a very specific way. That's not the problem though. The problem was that I had applied that meticulous process to copying somebody else's art. And then I wondered, why am I not learning anything? Why am I not getting any better at this? Why haven't I been able to develop my own style yet? And it's because I was stuck doing a specific set of things that another artist had already developed and mastered on their own. It wasn't my own process, it was somebody else's. And when I finally started to realize that that wasn't going to be the way that I could learn, I decided to try new things. I tried and failed miserably at lineless art. I tried shading and highlighting things differently. I tried to unlearn and relearn facial structure and anatomy. I tried different palettes, different line art methods, different lighting. After years of playing around with different techniques, I found a couple that I really, really enjoyed. If I hadn't taken the time to branch out and experiment from trying to copy somebody else's style, I probably wouldn't have gotten anywhere as a ripoff of another well-established artist. Now, there's nothing wrong with using artists as inspiration when trying to find your style, like I had done so many times. But I wasn't using Emmy as an inspiration, I was imitating her. And I didn't want to be an imitation, I wanted to be my own. And that brings me to my next point. Imitation versus inspiration. This is another can of worms. I'm going to try to be brief. Yes, we are back on the borrowing others' art styles topic again. I don't think that we ever left it, actually. Like I mentioned earlier, I won't go into depth until the next video, but we should touch on it briefly. I feel like any discussion about art style needs to have this slipped in there. It's bitter, but you know, we need it. It's the vitamins. You're wanting to develop a style or a brand or an artistic signature of your own, right? I mean, that's what I wanted. That's what a lot of people ask me about. So that's what this video is about. Because you want to make something that is yours, that people can look in that and be like, yeah, that's so-and-so's art style. That's Chris's art style. I know that that's your art style, Chris, because you do hair this way. Or you do the highlights on the face this way. Or you do the folds in the clothes this way. That's kind of the point of developing your own styles, so that people can recognize you and be able to distinguish you from other people. Along your artistic journey, you're going to come across plenty of artists whose work you admire and will want to take inspiration from. That's okay. Like I mentioned earlier, I took subtle inspiration from some of my faves as well. I mean, after the fact that I completely copied somebody else's style for a while there. But in doing so, you need to be sure not to cross the line between inspiration and imitation. I know, this gets tricky. And without being able to go into huge detail like I'd like to, I just sound like an asshole who's just like, you can't do anything this other artist does, or it's copying, and that's stealing. How dare you line your work with black color, with black lines, and do flat colors? That's what all these other artists do, and that's stealing. How dare you draw anime eyes on your character or give this character red hair like so-and-so's character? That's stealing. No, that's bullshit. And I hope that sound didn't come through on the microphone. I'm about to kill everybody on Skype right now because they're dinging up my computer. Anyway, that's not my philosophy. But again, another video for another day. I'll just give you an example. Me. Yeah, I think at this point in the video, we already know. I was an imitator. I didn't mean any ill will by it, of course. I just didn't know where to take my art. And the best I was capable of at the time was replicating another artist's methods and techniques to a T. It's okay to imitate. It's okay to experiment, and if you're honest about it. Which I always have been. I have other people who've asked me, do you get angry when people emulate your style? Do you get upset when people use your techniques to practice or to copy your style? And it doesn't upset me if they're honest about it and they let me know, hey, I'm not really familiar with digital art. I'm practicing. I was wondering if I could use your speed paints as reference. That's fine. You need to do what you need to do to learn, as long as you're honest about it, and as long as you're not trying to make a profit off of something that's not really your brand. Now, people are going to do it anyway, like you can't stop people, but anyway, I'm not getting into that today. I'm going to get into this another day. I just sound like an asshole, but bear with me. But if you're wanting to grow and branch out and get paid for your own style of work, it's better to be more established in your own brand. Take it from me, somebody who has done this and has been accused of it, it is never fun to be accused of only being a successful commissions artist because you're a so-and-so ripoff. It's not fun. You don't want people to think that you couldn't come up on your own, you weren't capable of making your own way or your own name in the artistic community because you were riding on somebody else's coattails. That's what I did for a while, and then I had to stop because I realized it wasn't good for me. It wasn't good for my artistic integrity. Again, another video for another day. You want to be more known for what you've developed yourself. That's really what's going to help you solidify your brand in the artistic community. Now, back to my example. I was imitating, but my art wasn't going anywhere. I finally decided to try other techniques from other artists that I had seen. Whereas I was originally working in flat colors only, I started to learn to shade things with effect layers. I started drawing faces differently and hair differently. I remember beginning to use purples and magentas and shading things because I'd seen another artist do it and I loved the color it brought to the characters. I started adding specific highlights to hair instead of just an anime blur effect. I tried multitudes of different things that I saw some of my favorite artists doing, but kind of in a mix and match way until I had created something unique to my own style and preferences. It's okay to take inspiration from other people. If you're doing so, to find your own preferences and practices. Imitate for practice or for fun, but always credit. Take inspiration as much as you'd like and make an amalgam of some of your favorite techniques until you found your own style. That's what I did anyway. This is just what I did. Like I said, you don't have to follow any of these steps. This probably won't work for a lot of people. This is just what worked for me. And it took a very long time, but I finally sort of somewhat figured it out. Maybe. I mean, I kind of have an art style. And lastly, find your flow. I mean, basically, that's it. Find what works best for you. Take inspiration from your favorite pieces of work or favorite artists. Use your favorite color palettes or pose dynamics or compositions. Play around with things until you found something that works well for you and put it into your routine. Also, don't be afraid to switch things up whenever you're feeling stagnant. My art style flip-flops all the time. I'm always trying new little things. That's why there's such a huge difference between what I was doing this time 2 years ago and what I'm doing now. Finding your style is tricky, and sometimes, many times, it's easy to get stuck or it's hard to push yourself out of your comfort zone, but don't give up. There's a million different ways to do a million different things when it comes to art, and the only one who can figure out what's going to work best for you is you. I hope this helps, even if it was just to give you a huge list of things you know you definitely won't do, because this doesn't apply to everyone. And I hope it makes sense, because I know I can, God damn Skype right now. I hope it makes sense, because I know I can be a rambling mess sometimes. I should go ahead and wrap this up, because now I'm rambling. Oh, don't forget, if you want to support me on Patreon, the link's below. I got a great community of people there. I love you all so much. I will never say it enough. And I am also having a request event going on today and tomorrow, so don't miss it, because if you've ever wanted to request something from me, that's what we're doing this week. So thank you all so much. Have a great week, and I will see you next time.